All right. Up next, I want to talk about my favorite team. And we talk about the Mets quite a bit because I am a New Yorker, even though I try to avoid it like the plague. But the New York Mets are 2-8 in their last 10 games. They were floundering up until last night. They have had a crazy streak of injuries, and now they're actually in second place, right behind Philadelphia, who I picked to win the division anyway. What do you think of this whole situation with the Mets? And is it a bad thing that they've gone on this losing streak now?
So really, the Mets, nothing's really going right for them right now, and especially in the last 7 games.
Except for Juan Soto, who is playing like an MVP again.
Except for Juan Soto, who's starting to pick it up, which I don't think has anything to do with like the streak or what's happening in these last 7 games. But they have the 4th worst ERA in these last 7 games. And from a hitting standpoint, they're actually doing well, right? So a lot of that has to do with Juan Soto. They have the 11th best or OPS in the last 7 games. So yes, they are not playing good in their last 10 or so. But these little runs and these little streaks, I will always say this. I'll say this till I'm dead. Is I truly believe these are good things for teams. I like these moments when you're sitting there and you're playing Tampa Bay and you get swept by Tampa Bay. You go to Atlanta, get swept by Atlanta. You win 1 of 3 against Philly, and then you go and you lose your first 2 against Atlanta again, and then you win. I like these streaks. I like them because these are the streaks that make you work harder. These are the streaks that make you a more complete team. Every good team in baseball has moments like this where they start floundering, they start to lose to the wrong teams, and then they build out of it, because that's what you have to do as a team. You have to have a rally point. And if you're just winning games and everything's fun and great all season long, you never had that moment of adversity. And right now is that moment for the Mets where they've lost games. They're getting down into second place. They're having injuries on that pitching staff. They've got Manaea, who's been out obviously all year. McGill, who just got hurt with a sprained elbow, and so we're going to see where that goes. Senga, the hamstring issue. And so you've got major pitchers on your starting staff going down. So this is that adversity moment. This is that chance for them to take these injuries and everything going on, especially on that pitching side, and rally behind it and keep going, because they've had great spots in their rotation. Like Montas coming back and pitching really well in that first outing is obviously going to keep them going. David Peterson has been pitching well overall these last couple outings, not so great. But then they've had Clay Holmes obviously having a wonderful season and pitching well overall. So I need them to have moments like this to become a better team.
And quite frankly, it exposes your weaknesses. You looked at this Mets lineup and okay, my top 3 is among the best 3 in baseball when I have Lindor and Soto and Alonso. But then when you saw that Vientos isn't doing well, Beatty isn't doing well, you got a lot of guys in that lineup not doing well. When you're losing, those get highlighted. And now David Stearns, the GM of the Mets, has to say, hey, wait a minute, I might need some guys at the bottom of the lineup because who I have is just not cutting it. I am not a fan of Nimmo. I haven't been a fan of Nimmo for a long time. I am not a fan of who's our second baseman outfielder? McNeil, thank you. Wow, mental fart there. I'm not a fan of McNeil. I think once he started playing golf, it destroyed his baseball swing. And I never thought he was all that great anyway. To me, he's a poor man's Arias where, yeah, he can have a high average, but he doesn't even do that anymore. He doesn't hit crazy amount of bombs. He's not speedster. So what do I need him for? Marte is getting old. Tyrone Taylor, fantastic in center field defensively, but not a great hitter. And Alvarez who is no longer with the team because they sent him down, who is supposed to be a 25 home run catcher, has been god-awful. That earlier when we were talking about Cal Raleigh, when you have a catcher that hits, oh my God, does that lengthen the lineup? And the Mets have usually had catchers who can hit. Gary Carter, Mike Piazza, you go through the list. I like the fact that it happened now because it's before the trade deadline and they get to figure out where are the items that I really need. And then, like you said, if you don't have any adversity throughout the season and you just coast into the playoffs, it's a little too easy, and you don't know how to fight back when it's up against it. I remember a few years ago when Cleveland had that crazy run where they had, 21 wins in a row. They set the American League record. What did I say? Are they getting too hot at the wrong time? Because they were hot right before the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, when that ended, ice cold, done with the playoffs, gone, out.
Yeah, they weren't hot going into the playoffs. They were hot before it. And they were hot.
Yeah, it was like the 15 games before they cooled down.
Yes, and that's the worst thing you want to happen is have that adversity right when you get to right when you're walking into the playoffs. You want that adversity now. You want that adversity in July. You want that adversity, in some other spots where then you can come out of it. Even August is a great time for it, so that allows you to have the second half of August and September. You just don't want it to happen in August with a team right on your heels, and then you have that adversity hit. Right? So right now, it's basically exactly what we thought the NL East was going to be. The Mets and the Phillies with the Braves, when you're sitting back going like, where are the Braves? But it's the Mets and Phillies making a run, and both teams are playing good baseball overall. I've got no problem, but you've said a couple of things that were right on it too. Alvarez not doing his part without question. Soto now playing good baseball. Nimmo just 50 outside of 15 home runs. Okay, 250. But again, it's nothing that's going to blow your doors open. He's going to end the year with 30 home runs, which is going to be a good number for a corner outfield, but not great across the board, but good. But then you're looking at like Beatty's right now, and then you're looking at Marte has been for a couple of years. McNeil, outside of that 1 year, has really kind of been and but they've kept bringing these guys back. I know Beatty's obviously a young player, but they kept bringing a bunch of guys back in McNeil, Marte, and some of these guys where you're sitting back going like, I need more. I need a little bit more. And that pitching staff had been a huge plus for them last year. Right now, in this moment, been struggling, but they'd picked up the slack the whole year. I'd like to see that offense pick it up and carry the pitching staff for a little bit while they're allowed to get healthy and get through this, because they do have an opportunity here. And I think you brought up another good point. This adversity allows them to see their flaws, see where they need players and where they can improve. And I would love to see David Stearns make a really good splash and not just a couple role players, because you've got a bottom part of this lineup that is really ho-hum versus the other teams, the other competition. When I look at the Dodgers, I look at the Cubs, and I want to look at the Phillies and then on the National League side. So even the Padres, the bottom parts of their lineup are just better. And that's scary as a pitching staff when I'm facing bottom part of the lineup and those players are getting better. Like a Max Muncy right now, there's like they would die for a Max Muncy in this lineup.
You know who I'd like to see in this Mets lineup, and he's not going to cost too much. He's a very good player, underrated. I'd like to see Cedric Mullins on this team. Yeah,
and that's a player too. When you're looking over at Baltimore, that they probably want to move, that they probably would move, and that would be a very interesting spot. You'd take that Taylor spot. He's playing center field right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you take Taylor's spot, and that would be a very good place. And a player that wants to win, knows what it's like to win, has that fire and that hunger. Not saying that Taylor does not, but he's a known commodity that is going to bring a little spark, and that's a good type of move.
Yeah, and if you bring in Cedric Mullins and he's your 5-hole hitter, and then you're moving Nimmo down to 6, and you're moving McNeil down to 7, that lengthens the lineup, because Taylor, Terrens at the end of that lineup kills you. So you really need to bring in some more hitters. And at this point, I would much prefer if they started playing some of these young guys like Acuna more rather than sending him down than keeping a guy like McNeil or Marte. I wouldn't mind bringing up some of these young guys and cutting bait on those older players. Get yourself a little bit of energy.
I have a hard time cutting bait with some older players right now and just bringing up young guys, because the young guys probably going to, maybe some more energy, but they're not going to bring up better stats. And you never know what they have in that clubhouse, what type of guys are on the clubhouse, and they might be driving the team a lot more than you think. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to get rid of those guys at this point, especially when you're playing good baseball. But I do want to look at and say, can I improve? Can I use a guy that I sent down to the minors as a tool to bring up the player that I want that guy to become?
I'm not talking about all of them though, but you have so many ho-hum players.
Jeff McNeil's still at a 253, and it's still, if I bring up an Acuna, like that guy's not good enough to even make this lineup right now. So
I know, but it's a weak 253, David. I mean, he's not providing.
But is Acuna going to bring you a better 253?
No, but he'll bring. But I don't know what.
And it doesn't provide Clubhouse anything. Well,
you don't know that. You don't know what he provides Clubhouse wise. I mean, he's Hispanic, and they have a lot of Hispanic players in that clubhouse.
He's not Hispanic. He's changed. He's
Latin, whatever. I'm sorry. Okay, he's Latin, and there's a lot of Latin players in that clubhouse. You don't know what that chemistry, how that's going to affect chemistry. I'm not saying that it's going to make a big change, but when you have all these ho-hum players, I don't know what Acuna's ceiling is. I know what McNeil's ceiling is, and that's why I'm willing to make that change. I'm not saying get rid of Marte, Nimmo, and McNeil, but get rid of one or two of them and keep some of that. Keep Nimmo in there, but if you can get rid of Marte, who's a shell of what he was, and McNeil, and bring up some energy, I'm totally fine with that. And the last thing I want to say about the Mets, hey, Yankee fans, that you've been making fun of Soto all this time, where are you now? And how's Cody Bellinger doing, losers?
Oh, my God. Stop
Sorry,
it. Stop
I had to.
I love it. But at the same time, it's a long season. We know Soto is going to be at this point. You don't even need to talk crap, because to me, it's talking crap means you never truly trusted it, and it hurt your feelings.
As a Met fan, we never truly trust anything.
We knew where Soto was going to be. So to me, I'm looking at this going, well, yeah, he's getting a lot closer. He's not even aware the way he's playing right now. Yes, when that season plays out, he's going to be a 270, 280 hitter and be crushing baseballs. But now he's got 19 home runs. Like, he's always been right there. Yeah. It's just the Mets. If you have a bad couple games, they're going to highlight it. Bellinger is a whole nother question.
Yeah, exactly. Which is really, but the good thing about Soto slumping in the beginning of the season, his baseball card stock went down so much. I just bought a Juan Soto second-year autographed card limited to 100 for less than $70. That's awesome. That made me very happy. And you know where you can find great baseball cards? J&J Sports Cards. There's no other place. We're going to be posting a lot of really cool crap over there in the next few days. So make sure you go to eBay, check out our store, buy some stuff, because I'm thinking for David's next birthday, maybe buying him some hair plugs. I need the money.